Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Scrambling and Rambling Podcast. We're really excited today. I am here with Becca, and as always, Becca, my co host. Becca, you have a friend with us today. Who are we talking with?
I do. I do. I even wrote a little fun intro.
Let's hear it.
She is, among many things, a backpacker, climber, paddler, skier, runner, writer, editor, gear tester, and above all, a mega sweetheart. She is Mary Murphy. Hello, Mary.
Hello. Really excited
Thank
to
you.
be with you all.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. Thank you for being our first guest.
Woo!
Yeah, thank you. Um, so I wrote that little intro, but I would love to hear maybe parts of your identity that I missed, things that you might say that you're into or enjoy.
Yeah, no, I think you hit the nail on the head. Definitely climber, all facets. I started climbing in college. I loved climbing. Like, I think I went to a gym once, maybe when I was a kid. And as soon as I got to college and saw their tiny little, corner rock wall on campus, I was hooked. And since then, branched out into like sport climbing, some trad, and I picked up ice climbing a couple seasons ago in the winter, which is not for the faint of heart. It's if you really enjoy the cold and
This is true.
also steep terrain and long days and all that. But yeah, trail running, climbing, backpacking. Um, I'm a writer and a poet, as well as an editor. I would say mainly my professional identity right now is mostly editing. I really love finding time for myself to write for myself, but in the gear world and the outdoor world and all other facets, I'm an editor by trade. So, yeah.
That's right. I can't believe I forgot to add poet in there. You are indeed also a poet.
But yeah, I don't think you missed anything. I would say if I had to pick one thing, like, hiking, like just on your own 2 feet, getting out there, enjoying the scenery and nature and forests and trails and all that. But I mean, I live in Colorado, so what's not to love, I am a woman of many hobbies. But yeah,
How do you have like the time, first of all, because that's a lot of that's a lot of hobbies. But do they kind of intertwine? Like, does hiking help you write? Does climbing, like, do they all kind of play off of each other?
yeah, I think so. I think there's some aspect to, like for a while now, I've been, I really enjoy hiking, day hiking, or backpacking, camping overnight. All of that blends in kind of if you're going camping with friends or you're going camping overnight with the dog and you're bringing too much stuff, you're not out there for very long versus backpacking where you're hiking 6, 7, 10 miles in, that's a little different. But at the end of the day, it's kind of all blends together. And then, for example, like pack rafting and pack paddleboarding, which is also something I do, you have to drive and then hike to get there or bike to get there. I've done that once. It was an absolute nightmare biking with a sup on my back. I would never do that again. But yeah, portaging, if you're someone who ever grew up or has ever tried like canoeing, boundary waters or canoeing or kayaking off grid, you're hiking, you're getting in there in the backcountry, you're camping while you're there, and then you're taking the boat, and then you're getting across the lake, and then you're hiking again, and then doing it all over. So yeah, I would say they definitely all fit together, and it's fun when you have time to link them all up. So
Well, and I think also we know what you have been doing for a living for a long time now. So maybe we should talk about that because I think also blending your professional life with the outdoors has probably helped you enjoy the outdoors more, I assume. But why don't you tell us a little bit about your professional background, especially in the outdoor industry?
yeah, so professionally, I started went to school for English and journalism, so got my start at a school newspaper, college newspaper, like we all did. If you want to go back further, high school editing for yearbook, editor, yearbook role, all of that. But yeah, college newspaper and then the city newspaper in my town, and wrote in, did a bunch of writing there, kind of grew up in the newsroom, and that was like my first taste of being a news journalist, which is very different from what I do now. But I think it's good to learn, like, it was very traditional. It was a traditional newspaper, traditional newsroom, and you're kind of just thrown in there and you learn as you go, and you know, learn to write, you learn to edit, you learn how other people edit. Like, I think that's huge in this industry, especially, is like you learn from other people of how they're approaching a story or how they're asking questions about something, um, something that you've never thought of. Like, for example, I was listening to a podcast the other day, that's put on by two trail runners, two outdoor industry people, right? But they're not writers and they're not editors and they're not gear testers. And they had this like mind blowing moment where they're like, we're so unsure after reading this one single review. Do gear testing people actually like weigh the gear? Like, do they actually like confirm the gear? Do they test the gear? And they were like questioning this, and they were just having this whole moment on their podcast of like, we don't actually know what they do. Like, you would think that gear testers would confirm this sort of information. And that kind of just reminded me, I was like, wow, some people like they don't know how this works. They don't know how
Mhm.
editors, you know, take a piece that someone else has written and, you know, professionally and ethically contain, like, adhere to their writing style and their words while also editing it for clarity, readability, making it better, you know, making suggestions to make it better. And I think that's really cool. So yeah, I would say that's pretty far up there. Um, what else? Oh, so yeah, I started a newspaper and then quickly shifted gears, got into the outdoor industry by way of like gear magazines, gear testing publications. I've edited and written for a bunch over the years. Um, but yeah, just you know, being on staff somewhere, I would say also working full time for a gear testing publication, that was huge. Of just like all the time I was getting offers to test gear, and I was having to, you know, I am on the younger side of people in this profession, and I was having to like weigh my personal like lifestyle choices of like, oh, how much time do I want to spend testing backpacking gear and hiking footwear versus these other random things I've been offered, like ski goggles, which I also ski, you know. But I think weighing what you want to spend your time doing, because at the end of the day, if you're a gear tester, you're testing this gear on work time, you know, air quotes work time, and also there's a gray area, and you're testing it on your personal time. You're testing it on the weekends, and you're probably enjoying testing it, you know, unless until like the sole of like a hiking boot just like completely blows out on your hike. Or you know, and so yeah, so I would say professionally that's been a little bit of my evolution. I also simultaneously working as a writer and editor for my college paper. That was like, you know, very good practice on the journalism side and getting to, you know, really get my start in journalism. But simultaneously, I was working for like outdoor education at my college as a student employee, as like a hiker, backpacker, outdoor leader, and mentor to other students in the outdoors. So that was definitely a huge overlap for me of like, oh, this is my passion. This is something I can do with other people, and other people want to go backpacking somewhere we haven't been. Oh my God, I'm in charge of like 12 other people. What am I doing? And then also, you know, journalism and picking stories and all of that.
How would you say you talked about certain reviewers, do they even test the gear? And then you're talking about hiking so much that it's going to, you know, blow out the sole of the shoe. Like, what is that sweet spot for you? How much time are you taking to just go out there and test a piece of gear? Is it one time? Is it 20 times? Like, when do you feel comfortable that you can write that story like ethically, like you said, and to have all of that information you need?
Yeah, I think you know. I mean, obviously there are certain baselines and standards that publications, for example, will set of like, hey, we'd like you to test this for, you know, it came out last month or it came out 2 weeks ago. Obviously, that might be too soon to write a review. Um, there's a lot of back end stuff that some people are aware of, like beta samples, production samples. So even though that shoe, for example, like a hiking shoe or a hiking boot, even though it only came out 1 or 2 weeks ago, they might have had samples available 6 months ago. So you should never discredit a publication for saying they published a review the day something came out. They obviously had their hands on that gear, had that gear available way, much longer before then. But I would say, especially for like, actually, I wouldn't even qualify it for all gear. I would say there's a moment where you're using it and you're like, this still feels new. And to me, that's like that's kind of like the cusp of like, I've hiked in this a lot, but it still feels like a new piece of gear. Or like I've worn this backpack, but I feel like I need to use it a little longer. And I think that timeline, I think it changes depending on what it is. If it's trail runners that have a brand new foam or brand new rubber that hasn't been out yet on market, that is not available in any of their shoes, I'm probably going to test that way longer than I would, an upgraded or updated iteration of an Osprey or an REI backpack. Mm-hmm. So I think it depends on the piece of gear, but I also don't think it matters that much. I think I test things as long as I can. Obviously, you got to write the story at some point. People want to hear about it. You gotta get the news out there. And there's also a huge difference between like writing a press release style, like, hey, this new backpack is coming out. These are all the specs we've learned. We've asked these questions of the brand. We've asked things about it. We've investigated. We've done some reporting. And there's like a, introductory piece of like, hey, this new pack looks really cool. Here are the unique things about it. We have not actually put our hands on it. So we're not saying anything. There's those styles like introductory, reporting pieces that aren't full reviews. And I think those are also helpful to, people who like to fill in the blank, hike, ski, whatever, the general outdoor consumer of, oh, there's this new pack coming and it might have a better sternum strap or it might have a better back panel, more ventilated back panel. And then later on you can hopefully find a review about it and, look into it more. But yeah.
I asked Greg this question last episode, I guess, technically. And I'm curious because so all three of us test outdoor gear. I'm curious what the weirdest thing you've done to test gear is.
Oh, that's such a good question. I've done a lot of weird things. Like there's the like put on a rain jacket or like a waterproof shell and stand in the shower for 15 minutes, like 100%. I was testing like a company that makes by computers, but has never made a smartwatch, like a GPS watch. And this is years ago. And their GPS watch they were touting as it had like more customization and you could add specific like custom activities. And in addition to the watch came with like something like 50 sports loaded. And I was like, how am I going to test the accuracy and like, timing and using different sport modes? And I was like, well, let me just pick something that has a bunch of sports. So then I settled on doing a sprint triathlon because I was like, I could very easily do the run, do the bike, do the swim. However, it was November and it was like 30 outside. So instead of swimming, I did SUP to measure like the yardage across the body of water. I was like, that's close enough. I'm not like swimming in a pool anyways. I don't lap swim. But I don't know. I think dropping things is always fun. Anything that has like a durability rating or like a waterproof rating, submerging stuff, dropping stuff. I have actually like destroyed gear, like cut out a piece of fabric to look at it, under a microscope, like look at it differently, look at the weave, things like cutting shoes in half. A lot of, running websites do that now. That was not, I would say 10 years ago, that was kind of that was a new thing that people were doing. I can't think of anything specific that like is really, really wild. Other than like taking stuff out in the snow or in the water, if it has any form of like a waterproof rating. And yeah, just like pushing the envelope, it is a test sample and we are the people who are testing it. So it's important to do that to the full extent. So I would say if there's opportunity to like do something crazy, then I try and figure out what that is for that piece of gear.
Do you ever have a moment where you're like, I really love this gear and I want to keep using it, but I also know I should try to destroy it for testing? Do you ever have that moment?
I don't think I've had a moment. No, it was something I really love that I want to keep using. I have not fully destroyed it. I would say I don't think I've gone that far, unless I know that um, they don't need the sample back. So that would be an important thing that you need to clarify with the brand of like, hey,
Right.
just making sure you don't need this production sample back because I want to cut the shoe in half or XYZ, you know. I have like dropped quite a few things. I'm trying to think of like dropped things from rocks or from XYZ, like certain heights to check the durability. I don't know, I drop stuff every day. Like if I'm hiking, my phone has been dropped straight, like camera face down onto a rock. Like that's
Mhm.
happening. So however, and I think it's important to think about however people would use the gear, you should use the gear. Like not everyone is versed in, oh, this is like a brand new shoe and I want to hang on to it, so I'm going to test it gently. Like there's no such thing as like gentle gear
Right.
testing. Like you should be like, if you're testing a running shoe, you should go run through like a giant patch of mud. Like 100% every shoe you test, you know, unless it's like a specific like, you know, workout race, you know, trainer that you would probably use in the gym or on road, but you know, any way that someone else would use the gear, and the general consumer is like you would hope, and I think that a lot of people have not only learned this over the years but embraced it, is gear repair. Like the world of gear repair is something I really nerd out on and I love. um and like, you know, re-waterproofing your gear, re-waterproofing your boots, taking care of your gear so it lasts longer. I would say it's really nice that people have learned about that. I would still say for the general consumer, like people aren't cleaning their hiking boots every single time they use them. They're not re-waterproofing them. Maybe every winter, maybe sometimes when it gets really bad. I know there's a lot of people who work in the outdoor gear world who do not ever wash their sleeping bags, which is crazy. Um,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
yes, I think, you know, some people, those are the people who potentially you're speaking to who are reading your reviews, is the general outdoor consumer. And it's really fun to write amongst people in the outdoor industry, like write amongst people who are involved in the outdoor industry or who are, say, you know, big skiers or big hikers, you know, big overnight backpackers. But you also have to remember potentially you're writing to the general consumer. Like if you're writing for an online or digital publication, anyone could find that on Google, you know, or Reddit or
Right.
so yeah.
So as a more of on the kind of creator side, and I have my own website at fatmanlittletrail.com, and I do product reviews in that consumer side of it. I have never once cut a shoe in half, and my idea is
Bluetooth
um,
disconnected.
how it's
Bluetooth
go
connected.
how it's going to work for people who are just like me. Like you know, I'm a plus size hiker. I therefore I treat the gear pretty roughly, anyways. So it's just a matter of seeing how much usual like weekend warrior wear is going to be on the gear. Um, you talked a lot about like what you go through. Is there a benefit to both of those? Like you guys are going to write stuff that is way more in depth versus this. Is there a benefit to both, and how is it as a consumer? I can look at that and see, you know, kind of tell the difference between what's professional versus what's kind of prosumer when it comes to reviews.
Yeah, I would say there's definitely value in both, like immense value, especially because someone might not, you know, hopefully if they stumble upon a really long term, in depth, you know, 1 year plus review, like this is a tent that we absolutely wanted to vet and we tested it for over a year. You know, that is important. And hopefully that review is written so that the general consumer would understand most of it. But some gear publications write to, um, like a higher level of gear lingo that is not as accessible. Um, and there are places who write like that, and they are definitely writing for the already, you know, someone who already backpacks, someone who doesn't need to learn about backpacking, like, you know, a weekend warrior or even a step above that. But I would say there's value to both, and I think the best example is honestly like circa like, I don't know, 2010 to like 2015, 2016, when YouTube gear reviews were really getting big. And that was huge because that's a more accessible format for some people. It's visual. You can like see the whole pack. You can see different angles. You can hear someone talk about how they would use it or how they would set up the tent. If you've never set up a tent before, those beginner style or amateur, like, someone who just hikes. They love hiking and they started I write hike reviews on my channel, and they hike a bunch and they take people to national parks with them, and they just tell stories about their hikes and they share videos. Like that was huge. I would say that is a great example of a different but also an accessible another format of gear reviews. So yeah, and then there's value to both. There's value to the really long, like 6,000 plus word in-depth review, and there's value to the, hey, I'm going to tell you a short story, and by the way, I use this pack, and here's what I like about it. I would say there is a slight asterisk now next to some of those where it's like paid partnerships, sponsorships, or just straight up like AI bots or AI gear reviews, and that's very different because you can. I do believe at the end of the day you can tell when someone hasn't actually touched or seen the piece of gear. And that's a different story. But I think there's value in all types of reviews. Yeah.
But that was kind of my question, is like, how can somebody find something that we know has been thoroughly tested by a professional? Like, what are the keys to finding that review out in the world? Because there is, like, AI is all over the place. It's writing a bunch of garbage and stealing all of our ideas and trying to compile it. Not that I'm anti-AI, but I'm anti-AI. But like, how is, like, as a consumer, what should I look for if I Google, like, what's the best hiking shoe? What should I look for to find those kind of top tier reviews?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're looking for, say, hiking boot, like a Merrell hiking boot that's traditional, very traditional last. Traditionally, they're pretty heavy. They have really good traction, great rubber. They've been the same for a while. And I think over the years, the brand has made some changes, had some new shoes come out, different models, etc. But if you take a, Salomon X Ultra, for example, you take some of these traditional hiking boots and you Google the name and then you put the word review after it. You can also put the word tested. I also recommend that to a lot of friends. I'm like, hey, if you've never like looked up a review, put the word like review and then tested. That helps you find stuff where people, in the keywords are saying, here's how I tested this, or I tested this over X number of months. I tested this in Wisconsin. I tested it in Minnesota. I tested it in Colorado. The other thing you can do is look for gear reviews that provide comparisons within the review. So I think that's valuable to say, hey, we tested this thing. Here are the specs, the product specifications, but also here's some similar products. And then you can look at them side by side and see what's different. And more gear review websites are doing that within their own reviews. So they're saying, hey, you could Google this shoe and you might really like this shoe and you might be convinced by the end of reading our review. But if you're not sure, here's another one that's similar and here's how they differ. And then you're like, oh, wow, I didn't know there was a similar shoe. Or I didn't know maybe that other shoe came in wide sizing and this shoe doesn't. And now you have something to think about. So, that would be one of my recommendations for trying to find tested reviews. I also know like a lot of some publications, written publications are doing this, but they're putting like little disclaimers that say like tested by humans, or this was human tested. This was, written by humans. This is not AI content, which ideally doesn't need to be a disclaimer, but
right.
Apparently it does.
We're in that world now.
Yeah. Well, I feel like I could nerd out about this for a long time, but I also want to make sure we have time to ask you about something that I think is really cool that you did recently, which is an ice cream half marathon that you made up. This was not an organized event.
Yes.
And apparently, actually, you've done this twice now. I did not know that. So I want you to tell us about your ice cream half marathon experience.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yes.
I've been running for a while. I ran in high school. I've always been a runner since I was a kid, like sprinting to the end of the street, running in, local 5Ks. I remember since a really young age, the town I grew up in, there was probably like a marathon or a half marathon, a formal but, smaller city race. And it came like down the end of our street. And so we'd walk 2 blocks over and hand out the water cups to the racers and, see people who wear neon colored tights and, the sprinters in the front of the pack and the people in the very back running with like a pack of their friends. And I always just thought like, oh, that's cool. Like people go running, I like running. Like I like it. I enjoy it. I do it for fun for myself. And I think recently I've been in my like adult life, I hit a point where maybe like last year, a year or two ago, I hit a point where I think I was too busy. Like, honestly, I had too many things. I had too many things I wanted to do, too many things I was already doing. And I think running just like fell off the table. And I had this like awakening one day. I was like, this is, it's the middle of spring. It's still snowing here in Colorado. And I just had this moment. I was like, I don't like that I'm not running. Like, I really enjoy running. And I don't like that at some point it kind of just fell off of the priority list of I want to run. And so I was like, I'm going to get back into this. I'm going to go for a few runs. I'm going to like put pulses out to friends and text some friends who also run. And really like, I just wanted to run more because I enjoy it at the end of the day. Like I have absolutely no race goals at the time. And so I was like, what is like the most fun thing I can think of that is like absolutely just purely for fun? Like if someone saw me running, they'd be like, oh, she's definitely not training for anything because she's running and eating ice cream. And so that's how I settled on an ice cream half marathon. I've never done a half. I've done a few races this past year. So I ended up signing up for like a couple of 5Ks, 10Ks. I almost exclusively trail run. So I signed up for like a trail 25K. And this is all like this year. And I was signing up for stuff for fun, but I was really motivated to like do my own thing and just embrace like the pure joy of running. And I have a friend who I really love, and she calls herself on one of her social media channels, I think, like the most unserious runner, like the most fun, unserious runner. She runs in all pink. She's an absolute joy. And she's just like, I'm not about being serious. Like some people are. And those people are great, and they do an amazing thing for the sport, for the running industry. I have a lot of runners I look up to, but I just think it's fun. So I literally created in my brain, I was like, I'm going to go run an ice cream half marathon. I'm going to stop at every single ice cream like shop that I can plot along my route, and I will just build a route along that. And I went and did it in Denver, Colorado. So the route I built was, I think, 13.2, 13.4, and it was 9 ice cream shops. It was something absurd. It was like an ice cream shop and they were all, some of them were concentrated because it's the city. So some of them were all really close downtown. And I was like, well, that's what I signed up for. I made myself a bib. So I got this.
Yeah, while Mary's grabbing that, full disclosure, I did run the first few. Yeah, there it is. If you're watching, it's very beautiful.
Yeah. So I made myself a bib, and I was like, I'm doing this for fun. Like, no one is going to bother me. No one is going to judge me. I love running and I love ice cream, and this is what we're doing. So
I think we hit in that first, like, within 2 minutes, we had hit 2 ice cream shops.
Yeah, it was a quarter of a mile. They were like 2 miles.
We had 2
more than 2
ice creams, basically, within a quarter of a mile. It was amazing.
And honestly, yeah, so I started running my route. Like I built a route, and I didn't even get to the point where people were like, oh, are you running a race? And a lot of people asked me afterward as I was like posting photos. People were like, oh, what race is this? And I was like, it's not. They're like, it's not. I thought it was like an organized, like brand. And I was like, no, I just made this up on my own volition, just went out there. And I ended up, I'll tell the short story. So Becca ran with me for the first couple miles. And the second stop, I ended up standing in line with like my runner's vest and my bib. And I'm like jogging in place with like the people in front of me need to hurry up ordering their ice cream. And two runners show up behind me. They walk in. They're kind of like looking at me and they tap us on the shoulder and they're like, "Are you guys like running? Are you runners?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm running like an ice cream half marathon." And they're like, "No way, so are we."
Independently made up
Independently made up out of our own crazy brains separately, myself and these other people, these two other people. One of them was running with their friend. So we separately each had the idea to do this. And the kicker was we were within like 2 minutes of like going into an ice cream shop and walking out. Like the universal timing of us being at the same time is insane. We also didn't have the same route. So their route was completely different. We only shared like 2 or 3 stops. So the fact that we actually intersected was just wild. It was like statistically astronomically low. I don't even know how I met these people. I could not even tell you. It's a whirlwind. But then we ended up running like a modified route together. And it was way more than 13. It was like 16 miles. We made up like rules along the way, which I also thought was fun because, you know, you sign up for a race and there's a certain level of, even if you're doing this for yourself or you're running it with friends and doing it for fun, there's a certain level of like, this is timed, like this is a race. Like we should, you know, like let's push ourselves, or like, I want to be in the front, you know, I want to get in on this, you know, average pace or whatever. And I like that collectively there's like motivation for that. And we didn't really have that because we're just kind of like literally running in circles around. Like we're like, where's the next ice cream shop? And we're like taking side streets and taking alleys, and we're like not the most efficient, you know, no one's marking the course for us. And there was like a ton of uphill, and I was like, oh, this is so bad. It was like, you know, the ice cream shop is like at the top of the hill in this like, you know, old neighborhood off South Broadway. And I was like, why did we do this? And so we made up rules along the way to make it more fun, just in case the ice cream itself was not a fun factor. We each had to order a double scoop at least one location. And we each had to eat a cone at least one location. And I think there were other qualifiers of like, you could order whatever you wanted, but it had to be ice cream. So it could be an ice cream, it could be an ice cream sundae, it could be an ice cream, you know, shake, like an ice cream milkshake. Most of the stops I added toppings. Like I did not care.
I do think the pro tip here is Mary is vegan. I do think vegan ice cream is probably a little better on the stomach while you're running that far. However, I think weren't the others eating regular ice cream?
Dairy. So yeah, I will qualify that. First of all, vegan ice cream is still ice cream. That is absolutely a fact.
Oh, absolutely.
It is milk and coconut cream and sugar, and it's all the good things. Definitely still counts. That being said, I don't think I would ever eat 9 or 10 plus scoops of dairy ice cream and still be standing at the end.
Yeah.
I think some of them did at one point eat the same flavor I got. So there were maybe 1 or 2 non-dairy scoops in it for them. But these are hardy
Still.
fellow trail runners, and they were on the dairy, on the move. I think we had like an average, like, I don't know, like a 12-minute pace. Like it was ridiculous while eating ice cream. And yeah, it was really fun. It was, you know, it took us all day. We were not breaking any records. But that's a good segue into the second one, because I had so much fun on the first one, doing an ice cream half. I was like, let's just do another version. Like, let's build another route. There's so many ice cream shops out there we haven't hit yet. Let's just like do another one. And I think that one was more of like, let's see if we can like break our time. Like, let's see if we can do this a little faster. It's also really good like recon for, I don't know, I did not fuel the entire day. Like I just ate ice cream, and I didn't eat a single gel, and I was like, that worked out pretty well. Like, I don't know, I think ice cream as fuel is, I don't know, I think it's underrated. I think it's maybe, I don't know, hopefully it'll hit the scene in a few years. Maybe more people will put ice cream at aid stations.
They should. Probably logistically difficult, but I will say I think nutritionally not that different from a lot of
No, it's like sugar and carbs.
Exactly.
And
like
either dairy
salt,
or non-dairy.
you know?
So yeah, pick your poison kind of thing. But yeah. And I
So
think I will say of the 9 ice cream shops, I think only 1 or 2 of them I had to eat a sorbet because they didn't have like a cream.
That's impressive.
So that was definitely that was like, ice cream light, but I'm still
i-
counting that.
if this becomes a real event, like what are you going to give to the
Oh,
winner
I
at the
own it.
end? Like,
This is like I've already invited friends. I'm like, if you want in, this is a friend organized. This is a group organized run. This is not, no one's going and charging like $60 to run like an ice cream 10K. Like I do not allow that. I think like you're doing it for fun. So,
I just
maybe
figured
it will take off.
the winner at the end would get like a lifetime supply of like ice cream. Where are you going with that?
The winner, I have some ideas. And anyone out there listening, please don't take the idea. If you'd like to join, hit me up.
Copyright.
I would really like to do a backyard ultra version of this, and it would be on free scoop day at Ben and Jerry's. So any Ben and Jerry's location, run a lap, get a free scoop, run another lap, last man standing, last human standing, kind of deal.
I
think
love
that
that
would be
idea.
absolutely fun and terrifying when you get up to like, 16, 20, 30 plus miles.
Imagine working there that day.
Yeah, so far, I don't know. Most people were receptive to it. Most ice cream shops we went to, there were definitely some people who were like, I don't get it. Like, I'm not even enjoying talking. I don't get it. Please leave my line. You smell. Like, why are you here? And, I think most people saw that we were having fun and it made them smile. I remember we were outside one ice cream shop and it was like 2 parents and their kids. And they were asking us, they're like, are those people like running and eating ice cream? And I was like, Mom, can we do that? And I was like, yes, the next generation. And I was like, come run with us. Like, come, it's not even about earning your scoops. I don't eat an ice cream in
Yeah.
6 cents. You don't even have to earn it. But like, come run a lap and then we'll come back and your parents will let you have another scoop. Like, run a mile and eat ice cream. It's a blast.
Can't think of anything better.
It, after the 16 miles and absurd amount of ice cream we ate, we were 0 for 3. No one puked. And I don't think we had that many bathroom stops either. So it was successful.
A success.
We
Yeah.
all won. We all won at the end of the
Everybody
day.
wins. When you are eating ice cream, everybody wins.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think that's such a great way of combining like creativity with the outdoors. One more question before we get into the scrambling segment here, but are there other ways you like to combine like your like creative outlets with the outdoors?
Yeah, definitely. I do spend a fair amount of time. I think I would say mostly when I'm backpacking or camping somewhere, I will just hike up to a good viewpoint, like a good rock, and just kind of sit and write in my journaling, um, or writing some poetry, like writing whatever comes to me, whatever I've been thinking about. I've had like some weird camping experiences where I have like dreams overnight and then I decide to like I journal about them the next day. Because you hear sounds when you're camping. You
Oh
hear
yeah.
things in the woods. You see things in the distance. I've had some pretty close encounters that definitely did not inspire any journaling, but just were like, wow, like I'm like you're out there, you're out there in the forest on the trails and you may or may not see other people. And I absolutely love that. I think that is hard for some other people who are getting into backpacking of like, there is really no one there for you unless set things in place of, having a Garmin, having an SOS, telling people when you're going to be back. That's kind of like a no-brainer. Checking the weather. If it's like it hailed on me once for like 4 straight hours while I was hiking. And I did think about turning around. And I was like, well, if I turn around, it's still going to take me like at least an hour or 2 to get back to the trailhead. And it would be doing the same terrain. And at some point, the weather will just change kind of thing. Like you're kind of, I embrace the idea of like, if it's raining, at some point it'll stop raining. And like, you do have to like kind of use your judgment in those scenarios. but yeah, I do a lot of journaling. This year I also use, I brought a few. I use these like really small like field notes journals.
Oh, yeah.
They're like 2 to 4 inches across. They're really small. They fit in like hip pockets really well, or like hip pocket belts or fanny packs or stuff like that. I think I've gone through like 11 or 12 of these in just a few years, and some of them are full of like random like to-do lists and notes, and most of them are like day one, day two, trip journaling or actual stuff for me being outside. But I love those. Highly recommend those. This year I also got like a mini watercolor kit. So my partner
Oh,
gifted me,
yes.
I forget the brand, but a few people I know have it. And it's like a mini watercolor canvas, and it has a magnet on it, and it has a little palette of paint. And all you need is like water. It's also water-based paint. So I'm really careful with where I put it, but brush off your paint, and you can just paint little, mini plein air painting and design. And I really like either one of those two things, like journaling or watercolor painting, or something that like makes you just sit on a rock and kind of like look at the view and enjoy it, kind of slow down. I think it does really help when you're like outdoor with friends. If I'm hiking with friends or backpacking with friends, we are stopping a lot more than I would stop by myself. Like sometimes I don't stop. I just like keep hiking because I'm like, this is fun. I'm enjoying this. And I think it is important to stop and like smell the flowers. I've also downloaded the birding app, Merlin ID.
Yes.
I've gotten a wee bit into birding, as both of you know, because we've been birding
Yes.
together.
We have, the
And
three of
that
us
also
have been
forces you
birding
to stop
together.
hiking, so you don't have like the sound of your tread like stomping over the trail, so you can actually hear the birds. And I think that's enjoyable too. I think it might not appeal to everyone, but whatever makes you like stop and just like appreciate the hike a little bit more, especially like after it rains, like if you're hiking and it rains on you, of just like go, get somewhere safe, obviously, depending on the terrain. If you're in the Alpine, of course, but the terrain and where you are, but like just get to a viewpoint and just like look at the sky, like look at see if there's clouds, see if there's a rainbow, see how the mountain landscape has changed. Like, I just think I like, this is like a no-brainer. Like if you're hiking, just like stop and look around. So
Yeah. I love that.
I'm preparing myself for the rapid fire that is on Greg's face.
It's that time. We like to finish off with a little bit of rapid fire questions. Very, very strict 3 minutes on the clock. We're going to see how many you can answer. Becca, you want to get us started? The clock will start as soon as Becca asks.
Do you have the clock started? Are you starting it?
Is that my
instruction?
Becca, I'm just making the clock up. Let's be honest.
Oh, no.
We're not that kind of podcast.
Here's the thing. We have to be official. Do you want to know why? Because I think we're going to make this a competition for future guests. So you're going to set the bar of how many questions we get through. And then,
okay.
And then like the subsequent guests are going to try to beat that number.
Okay.
And so we have to be.
I'm getting points for this?
Well, for each question that you answer,
okay,
you get a point. I don't know. But I do know that I need to set a timer, Greg. We need to make this official. Suddenly I can't find the timer on my phone. Here it is. Okay. I'm setting a timer for 3 minutes.
Alrighty. It starts on your question.
Okay. All right. First question. Mary, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Favorite ice cream flavor?
Oh, the chai from Bonnie Bray ice cream, or chocolate chip. Just universal.
Do you prefer road trips or flights?
Road trips.
If you could turn into any animal, which would you choose?
Tree frog. I really want to just like get vertical, like the height and like living somewhere up high, like living in a tree and like having a different perspective. Yeah.
Day hike or overnight?
Overnight, because you would get to hike more. So
Is the book always better than the movie?
Yes.
Christmas cookie or candy cane?
Cookies.
Best trail snack?
I'm a huge fan of those little peanut butter squeeze pouches. Peanut butter, almond butter,
Mm-hmm.
maple butter, all that.
Mm,
Yeah.
nice.
Naked butter is my favorite.
Oh yeah, we talked about that last episode actually.
Solo hike or in a group?
I have to say solo because I do it more, but I do love hiking with friends.
All right, favorite tree.
There's a tree on the top of Genesee Mountain that kind of like the sun always hits it when I'm there in the afternoon. And it's like it's a very uninspiring tree. It's just like a regular old coniferous tree, and it's beautiful.
That's a beautiful answer. I love that.
Climbing in a gym, rock climbing, or ice climbing?
Ooh.
I can't pick all three.
You cannot. Gotta pick your favorite.
Okay, climbing in a gym, outdoor rock climbing, or outdoor ice climbing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say outdoor ice climbing because it's what I'm currently doing right now, or hopefully doing soon, because it's winter.
Fair.
All right, biggest leave no trace pet peeve that people ignore.
Oh, I mean, this is just a life pet peeve, but the poop bags on the side of the trail, like people pick up their dog's poop and then they just leave it there. I think people don't really think through how harmful that is in terms of like you're leaving it there, an emergency could happen, you could take a different trail back, you could end up forgetting it, or like you leave it there and then other people see it and other people think it's okay, and that's like really harmful. But also I would say this happens like it used to not bother me at all, but the really loud outdoor speakers that people
Yes.
go mountain bike with, for some
Yes.
reason, I heard it like 3 different people with speakers on the trail like in 1 week. And I don't think I have heard it that often ever, or that I've ever noticed it and let it bother me. Like I'm like, that is actually not really harming anyone other than like, I don't want to hear you music. Like it doesn't harm anyone collectively, but it just really annoyed me.
It is annoying.
Mary, that was the longest answer in a rapid fire question I've ever heard.
It was,
Those
but
are
it's
Yeah,
not a good
those are now
answer.
tied in my brain.
We are out of time. But we thank you so much for participating. We will tally this up and let you know where you are on the leaderboard at the end of the year.
Yeah, right
Amazing.
now you're in first. Right
Right
now
now
you are in first place
That is
with
that is
11.
wonderful.
You answered 11 questions. That's first place. So, congrats.
Um,
It
I
was
was not fast on the last few.
I feel like the scrambling pace of that rapid fire was like we were scrambling and then it was like, well, we're gonna
We're
enjoy the view a
scrambling,
little bit.
and then we hit like a plateau, and then like
Yeah.
something slipped coming on the way down.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
happened
We
to all
were
of us.
we were taking a moment to take in everything too.
Yeah.
So
I mean, you asked me about my favorite tree. It can't just be like pine. Next.
I know your answer was actually really good. It was very thoughtful. But thank you so much, Mary. Thank you so much for joining us. This was it was so fun to talk with you, and we're grateful that you came on as our first guest.
Yeah, great
Thank
to
you
be
so
here.
much.
Thank you so much. I hope that I at least like shared a little bit about, what life is like as a writer, editor, gear tester. And at the end of the day, like, yeah, this is just, if this podcast is any indication, it's like, it's about having fun and like
It is.
sharing stories about the trails, sharing the trails with people. I realize I say that as someone who just answered solo hiking. Like, yeah, at the end of the day, like we all on this podcast, like we've all hiked before. We've all just been out there like soaking in the autumn leaves and soaking in the views. And that's like a great thing. And more people should do it.
I agree. Couldn't agree more. Thank you so much, Mary.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks. All right, Greg, should I take us out?
Take us out, Becca.
All right, that's our time for today. Thank you for listening to us ramble. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss our next guest, another writer, editor, and gear tester extraordinaire. You can also follow us on Instagram at Scrambling and Rambling Pod, where again, we are accepting graphic art submissions, which you could also email to us at our new email, scramblingandramblingpod@gmail.com. Until next time, enjoy your rambles.